I think it wasn't easy to write, but it was very important to me to write it. And it was definitely the breaking of a silence. And so while I had already dealt with that, for my own self, as I said, the world is too difficult, full of too many different kinds of characters for you to write something in a book that you're still trying to deal with yourself. So I had already dealt with that issue for myself, but I certainly hadn't dealt with the issue of silence around it. And so for me, if there's any part of the book that was like personally groundbreaking for me, it was talking about the sexual assault. Because I hadn't spoken about that publicly, nor had I really spoken about it a lot with members of my own family. I mean, my sisters and so on, but there was only a small group of people who knew. So it was important to be able to say, if we want to encourage women to speak, then it starts with you.
So a friend asked me, why was it that with the sexual violence you never spoke out, and with the racism you did? And I think this cuts to the core of the issues that are in the public domain right now. Is that as a child who had people around me who loved me, who would have done everything to protect me had I just said, this is what he did. And still I knew from the wider world that the thing to do was to maintain that silence. With racism, I knew I could come home and say, this is what they call me. That difference in what a child knows, in what a child is given permission to talk about, is what rape culture is about. And so there's nothing in me that feels as though I want to say, men rape, but it's okay. Women should just, no. This has nothing to do with that narrative, which is horrible and damaging. It has nothing to do with women. This is to say, we live in a continent where Africans are demonized. It's very easy to make us monsters. It's very easy to paint a picture, particularly of a poor man, a gardener who does something horrible, to say that he is only a monster. And I think that that's simply just it's not true about anybody.
It doesn't reflect that person's encounter with their society, with history.
And if we don't address the encounters that create horrible things and that create the kind of traumas that get passed on, then we will not be able to address them in any meaningful way.
I mean, I think my thoughts are a sense of very deep disappointment, like many people, wishing that we could have done better. But I'm also very interested in this idea that we not just wish something to be, that we get active and do something about it. And more and more, and I think certainly by the end of the book, it becomes clear that I'm interested in relationships between and across South Africans as the focus of how we're going to change this country, rather than the focus on politicians. So of course I talk about politicians, and I talk about betrayal, and I talk about disappointment, but I also say that, which is why I wrote this memoir the way that I did, because it's not a book about great achievements, it's a book about an ordinary person, because I think ordinary people are going to be the ones who change this country.